This is the LZR Project, an episodic story series by David and Alderman. The LZR Project takes place within David's Expired Reality universe and serves as a prequel to the main novels in his Expired Reality series. You can find out more about David's Expired Reality series at davidandalderman.com. Episode number 14. Thursday, April 30th, 1998. I'll take a cafe latte and a bread bowl with clam chowder, please. The waiter wrote Veronica Amorou's request in his black notepad. Anything else for the lady? Veronica shook her head and handed him the restaurant menu. He took it and then proceeded around the table to take the orders of Veronica's colleagues. Veronica took a deep breath and smoothed out her one-shoulder orchid-colored dress, one she designed herself in last semester's fashion design class. The dress ended just above her knees, and the back had been crafted from black stocking mesh that allowed her body to breathe quite well in the warm restaurant. She wore designer high heels that matched the beautiful violet color of the garment. The last touch to her ensemble was her makeup, stunning dark blue eyeshadow and lipstick. The other females sitting around the table were some of Veronica's old classmates, although she couldn't call any one of them a real friend. She met with them for lunch on occasion because they were colleagues and because Veronica enjoyed talking fashion with them, but she found most, if not all of them, to be a bit too catty when it came to the competitive nature of the fashion industry. Veronica created what she wanted to wear, and it seemed to her that the others created what everyone else wanted to wear. To Veronica, they were simply cogs in the fashion machine, destined to move the machine forward without any sense of passion. The fashion designs that graced the restaurant table were varied enough to give Veronica some interesting ideas and make the lunch date worth the hassle. One girl had created a very long prom gown, dark green in color with red chevron designs across the wide bell brim. Another girl wore white overalls and a pink bra. Another classmate decided to take a more basic approach and wore a see-through t-shirt with a sports bra underneath. So, Mirvan started, crossing her arms on the table once she pulled the straps of her white overalls up over her shoulders. What have you been up to? Any new creations since we last saw you last semester? Veronica took a sip of her water and then shook her head. No, this dress was my last creation. I've been busy. The other girls giggled incessantly. Busy? Sharon, the girl in the prom dress, exclaimed. You are the queen of understatement, you know that? We all know you've been running around Lysalis trying to stop that piece of shit slob, Mr. Big. Veronica slid her fingers across the condensation covering her glass. Yeah, that too. The girls giggled again. Veronica couldn't bring herself to laugh at such a high, chirping pitch. Anyway, ladies, I have wonderful news, Mirvan exclaimed. I just signed a modeling contract with Sin Soda. I'm going to be in their next batch of ads. This piece of news set the girls, all but Veronica, into a frenzy of excitement, which included heel stomping and shrill screaming. Veronica glanced around the outdoor seating area of the restaurant, taking in the dirty and confused looks from the other patrons. She observed the girls before her, the tragic truth settling into her spirit. She wasn't one of them, and as much as she wanted to get to know them a little better and pull ideas from their fashion designs, she couldn't bear being associated with such divas. The only exception seemed to be Silva, who locked eyes with Veronica during her scan of the table. The girl looked away shyly and made a feeble attempt to feign interest in Mirvan's astounding news. Veronica examined Silva's outfit, admiring her gorgeous and yet simple white tunic and simple black skirt. Complementing her color choice, Silva had picked high heels, one black, the other white, to complete the ensemble. It was a simple design, and the simplicity is what Veronica admired the most. Silva placed her hands on the table and began picking at her nails, a nervous trait that told Veronica the girl didn't want to be here. It was then that Veronica noticed the girl's right wrist and a small tattoo that sent red alarms blaring through Veronica's spirit. The design, a blue plus sign with dots in each of its four corners, was one Veronica had seen before. She kept still in her seat as she studied the mark. Silva continued to fidget with her hands as she listened to the other girls gloat about their accomplishments. Without warning, Silva halted her busy hands and turned to Veronica. What? Veronica shook herself free of her trance and shrugged. What? Nothing. I was just admiring your outfit. The compliment brought a smile to the girl's face. Thanks. It took me a few months to design it because I realized I was trying too hard at first, trying to be like everyone else. Mervon giggled. It looks nice, dear, but you're below par when it comes to our group. At least Veronica has brought her game up a bit, especially with all that's been going on in her adventurous life. Silva frowned and began rolling her napkin into a tube. Moments later, she excused herself from the table and left the restaurant. Veronica stood up to follow after her. Mervon waved her down. V, have a seat. We want to have a word with you about your designs and offer you an opportunity to make a little money with them. I don't have time right now, Mervon. Give me a call later and we can talk. Veronica hopped the fence that blocked off the outside dining area with the sidewalk and started down the crowded midday street, her eyes searching for Silva. When she spotted the girl in the contrasting attire, Veronica picked up her speed and bustled down the street. Silva darted down alleys and shortcuts and even climbed up to the roof of a 2-story delicatessen to skirt some of the rooftops. She finally ended her journey inside of a grocery store. Veronica waited a few minutes outside of the store to give the girl time to get lost in the building. Veronica didn't want to give it away that she was following Silva, but she had to question the girl about the symbol on her wrist. It was the same symbol Simper Creed used to draw on the girls he used in his human trafficking ring years earlier. When Veronica felt it prudent to do so, she stepped through the automatic doors of the store and began wandering the aisles in search of Silva. She did her best to blend into the crowds of patrons who were too busy shopping for their next meal to take notice of Veronica's pursuit. She finally spotted Silva at the seafood counter, in the middle of ordering a whole salmon which the seafood assistant weighed for her. Without warning, Silva spun around, spotted Veronica, and plowed through the nearby double doors that led to the back room. Veronica chased after her. The large area of the back warehouse was full of pallets stacked one on top of another, each one filled 3 to 4 high with grocery products. Silva rushed to the open bay door and leapt off the edge of the dock to enter the parking lot. Veronica reached the bay door, but a forklift moved out in front of her to block her path. The driver glanced down at her, his bushy beard nearly concealing his frown. "You don't belong in here," he mumbled. "Get out of my way," Veronica said. The man stepped out of the forklift. "Or what?" He pulled a large wrench from his side pocket and slapped it in his other hand. "If you don't get out of my warehouse right now, I'm gonna hurt you. This is your warning. Your only warning." Veronica swung her foot up, planting the tip of her heel into the man's crotch. He grunted and stumbled back. "Damn, you're gonna pay for that." He lifted the wrench back and swung it toward her, slamming it down across her bare shoulder. She felt the thick metal crash against her as pain washed across her collarbone and arm. He attempted another swing with the wrench, but Veronica snatched his hand and quickly snapped his limb to the side as bone cracked. The wrench dropped to the cement floor with a clang. Veronica swung the flat of her palm into the man's face, knocking his head back against the metal frame of the forklift. After he wobbled for a second or two, he fell to the ground. Veronica picked the wrench up and leapt off the back dock into the parking lot to continue her pursuit of Silva. She managed to catch up with the girl in a nearby shopping center just as she was getting into a black car that had pulled up in front of a thrift store. Veronica went straight to the driver's side and opened the door. The driver turned, saw the wrench in Veronica's hand, and slid out of the car, running off into the shopping center. The patrons of the thrift store broke out into a frenzy as Silva attempted to escape the vehicle. Veronica ran around to the other side of the car and grabbed the girl by her throat. "What are you doing, Veronica?" Veronica opened the passenger door and shoved Silva inside the car. Then she darted around to the driver's side and shut the door. She started the car, knowing she wouldn't have much time before the police arrived. Silva cowered in her seat. "What do you think you're doing, Veronica? Chasing me here? Scaring off my driver?" Veronica drove through the parking lot, her mind racing to plan her next step. She had to find out what Silva's involvement with Simper Creed was, or had been. "Simper's dead," Veronica said. Silva's scared expression didn't shift. "What? What does that mean? Who is Simper?" Veronica grinned. She took a perverse pleasure in interrogating people. David knew she had this streak in her, and he fought to keep it under control when he saw Veronica taking part in it. But David wasn't here now. It was just her and her little friend who had ties with one of the most evil people Veronica had ever met, and killed. "What's your connection to Simper Creed?" "I want you to stop the car. You can't do this to me." "The way I look at it," Veronica said, "I can do whatever I want right now. My friends aren't here to stop me." She took them through a stop sign, nearly running down a pedestrian. "The law isn't here to stop me. It's just you and me, and you're going to tell me what your connection to Simper Creed is. If you don't, I'm going to show you some of my hidden skills. Skills I don't reveal even to my friends. Silva turned forward, folded her hands in her skirt, and took a deep breath before saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Veronica pressed her foot against the gas pedal. The car's engine roared to life as she began making sharp, death-defying turns in the parking lot. She barely avoided hitting a young woman crossing the lot in front of them. She maneuvered the vehicle to the back of the lot and then parked the car in the direction of the thrift store across the way, killing the engine. She took a deep breath as a cool calm came over her, settling into her bones, relaxing her muscles. She turned to Silva. Tell me about Simper. Tell me about the mark on your wrist. I know what that mark is, and I know who put it there, and I know why. Silva turned her wrist over to reveal the blue tattoo. I've had this for a while, a long while. I don't remember where it came from. Something from my youth, something from when I was too young to remember. Veronica searched Silva's eyes for the lies and the truth, but where she usually spotted the dark shadows of deceit in those she interrogated, she only saw glimmers of truth, as painful as they were. Silva had no memory of her tattoo. A lost look filled Silva's eyes. The glimmer of truth had left, and pain took its place. I don't remember my parents, Veronica. I don't remember anything before starting school at the university. What got you interested in fashion design? Veronica asked. The question felt so arbitrary, so generic, but the root of the answer could help solve the riddle of Silva's missing memory. Silva glanced down at the mark on her wrist. I love how beautiful a woman looks when she wears something simple and yet elegant. Colors that strike. A woman can be transformed from dull to delightful with a mere piece of cloth and line of pearls. I love the transformation. Beast to beauty, plain to stunning. That's what I do when I design, Veronica. I transform. I change things. It is the only thing I have the power to do. You were involved in a human trafficking ring long ago, Silva. I'm certain of it. You had your memory wiped by a man named Simper Creed. He's the one who marked you to show that you were both his property and that you were for sale as a slave in the sex trade business. I'm sorry to unload this on you, but his name was XS. Who? The man who put this on me. His name is XS. Veronica's heart spun around on an axis of confusion. No, that's a design that Simper Creed came up with. It's your slave branding. It is my slave branding. I lied to you about losing my memory. I'm so ashamed of what happened that I do my best to pretend it never did. Simper didn't put this mark on me. She buried her face in her hands. Veronica put her hand on Silva's, unsure of how to comfort the poor girl. She had seen many slaves of Simper Creed's walk away from the trade and attempt to readjust to society. It wasn't impossible, just difficult. It proved to be a healing process of all things. He wore a mask, a black mask that covered his entire face. Rhinestones covered his eyes, and where his mouth would have been, there was a zigzag in bright green paint. His body was covered in a sackcloth suit. I never understood why he wore that. That's the same stuff they make potato sacks out of. How could that be comfortable? I didn't wonder anymore once I realized there was just a monster underneath the sackcloth. A monster who loved to hurt girls. A monster who loved to hurt me. Veronica had no idea what Silva was talking about. Simper Creed never wore a mask. He wore robes, or he sometimes wore nothing at all, the animal that he was. Veronica had even lived with him for a time and had never seen the thing Silva was now describing. XS must have marked you because Simper told him to. Maybe he fled or died before I killed Simper. Silva pulled her face out of her hands. You killed Simper? You're the Bladette? The what? I was let go into the wastelands a few months ago. XS took a bunch of us, the ones in his care, and let us loose with no food or water or transportation. We started out as a few dozen, but only 5 of us made it back here to Lysalis. 2 committed suicide once we made it here. Another is in an asylum. A girl named Indigo and I were trying to build out lives. She went out to the store one night and never came back. I don't know what happened to her. Where did XS go once he abandoned you in the wastelands? Veronica asked. The last time I saw him, he had a train ticket in his hand. The destination was a place called Destiny. I've never heard of it, though. Destiny? That's an old abandoned town beyond the wastelands. It was shut down years ago because of chemical poisoning. Silva shrugged. I don't know anything about that, Veronica. Veronica stared out the windshield at the thrift store ahead of them. She had fully intended on running the car toward the front of the store to scare Silva if she didn't answer her questions. Now Veronica felt like running the car into a man named XS. She had no idea there could have been another grunt under Simper, but it made sense. Simper's organization was so devious and convoluted that he would no doubt have needed others to help him with the volume of slaves he constantly handled. "You know," Silva said, "I was never used." "What do you mean?" Veronica asked. "I was never used. XS took me captive as a slave, but none of the buyers he ever brought me to found me desirable, at least not when compared to the others that XS had under his care." Veronica looked out the window again, lost in thoughts of her time with Simper, the girls she had come across, the hopeless souls which had no guidance. "I'm sorry, Silva. I really am." Silva put her hand on the door handle. "Can I go now, Veronica? I promise I won't speak of this to anyone. I know why you chased me down, and I'm okay with it. I just want to go back to my life." Veronica nodded. "Yeah, you can go. I'm sorry for what happened to you. XS will probably come after me now. He has a way of knowing what we're all up to. But it's okay. It's been too difficult for me to try and restore what was all at once taken from me so long ago. I can protect you, Silva. I'll put you up in a safe place. I'll go after XS and I'll kill him. Then you won't have anything to worry about. Then you can live your life in peace, go to school, and dominate the runways with your designs." Silva cried, shaking her head as the tears ran down her face. "Things will never be the same. XS killed my father when he tried to prevent my abduction. You don't know what it's like to lose your parent only to be tossed to wolves." "I don't know, Silva, but I do know what I'm capable of. I will find XS. I will kill him. You'll be free, truly free, and you can live your life the way you see fit." Silva's eyes were engulfed in smeared eyeshadow. "You can kill XS? You're sure? You don't even know where he is." "Destiny," Veronica said. "That's what I saw on his ticket, Veronica. There's no guarantee he's there now." Veronica started the car. "He's there. You can come with me to kill him, if you want. This is as much your battle as it is mine, but I understand if you don't want to." "I want to stay. I don't want to face XS again. XS called you the Bladette, you know. He said he wanted to meet you someday, face to face, and see if you had the guts to kill him like you did Simper. I do have the guts, Silva. XS will be dead before dawn." Silva stepped out of the vehicle, wiping her tears on the sleeve of her dress. She gave Veronica a confident smile. "Please let me know when he's dead. I want to be able to sleep at night." "I will, Silva." Thank you for listening to the LZR Project. If you are interested in reading more of David's Expired Reality series, please check out the author's webpage at davidnalderman.com.